Hey y'all, this is Jay from Renaissance Daddy, and we're going to talk about kids, the holidays, depression around divorce, and loss. So stick with us. Let's get into it. So, you know, I was going through this over here. I was going through trying to determine like what I wanted to talk about. And I know that this holiday season, specifically this one, has been hard. I mean, it's been hard for me. And as I always like to do, to remind myself that it's always not about me, is to take myself and back up a bit and see how is it affecting my daughter. I know that it's affected me because my temper is shorter. I want to sleep more. I'm less motivated to do things, right? And I've been highly motivated to get this channel off the ground, to dive into other areas, voiceovers, dive into product reviews and technology things and everything that else I'm trying to do. And I've been less amped up about that. And you know, it made me start to doubt when, my daughter was getting to the point where she was like, I can't wait to go, to mom's house, which is just recently. And I know I'm not taking that personally. I'm glad. I want her to be happy regardless of where she goes. And, over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of explosive behaviors, which also led me to the thought process of doing that. And so we're going to get into that a little bit more and hopefully teach you something, because I've learned some things. Every day I'm learning something, specifically about how to be a dad. Beyond that, even how to be a content creator. Funny, real quick, not too far off the beaten path, I was sitting trying to understand what I should, what we should talk about, and which direction I should go with different avenues that I've been talking to you guys on. And at Sean Cannell, I'll put his link down below, was talking on one of his late night little things that it's not late night for him. Let me just put it this way. It was late night for me by the time I get a chance to just settle in and watch it. And he was talking about, talk about what you're passionate about, go with what you're passionate about. And I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about, how to help you in a technology world. And when I did, the more I stopped to pause and, he pulled up this magazine and it was like photography. And I looked down and my daughter was asleep at the time, or trying to go to sleep, I should say. And I looked down and it was, my book, how to, un-F yourself, or how to feel better is the other book that I was reading, or, but basically in a nutshell, they were all around psychology, sociology, how and why I do what I do, what that you do, what you do, and what she does. And I realized, as much as I love technology, and I'm going to continue with that path, psychology and the understanding of the mind and why it does what it does, and how, how our behavior as parents to our children affect them long term. We always talk about, I know I've heard tons of parents, my parents, every parent has always said, you never know how it's like baking a cake without an understanding. You put it in the oven, and then 18 years it comes out, and you'll see if you did a good job or not. And for a long time, I was like, okay, yeah, I can dig that. I get it. But I also I started to believe that I don't want to be so naive to say, well, that's like putting your cake in the oven or pie in the oven, whatever it is, saying, well, we're going to see how it's going to come out in 18 years. But on top of that, I'm not going to read the cookbook. And there's a lot out there that are the cookbook, right? Why we do what we do all stems from up here, which all stems from behaviors, which all stems from interactions, events, traumatic some, non-traumatic on others. And I started to really go look, and think and quantify in my brain and go, okay, look, the cookbook is all around us, right? We have to understand our own mind and how we felt at that age, and that's their mind. It's not different. I don't care if my mom's in her 70s or where she was in her 20s or when she was 13. Her mind is her mind, and her mind at its root level is just like my dad and just like my daughter and just like my ex and just like my son and even yours. As you watch this, your mind is essentially your mind and my mind. They're basically the same. So we got to go one step further. And what makes yours and mine different is the experiences in which we live through, the traumatic events we've lived through, the positive events we've lived through, right? That's what shapes the person that you're going to be. So we can no longer sit down and say, well, I don't have a cookbook. Nobody makes an instruction manual for kids. We're just going to see how they come out in 18 years. And I'm going to honestly call that bull crap at this point. Because as I realize, and this isn't like I've known this for years, I've just coming to the realization about this. So if it didn't dawn on you, bing, yay, okay, it's here. I'm telling you, it's there. It's all around us, right? Child psychology turns into adult psychology, right? You want to make sure that your kid comes out at 18 relatively normal. Why don't you go study? Okay. And so that's what I do. That's what I've chosen to do in my situation, right? 43-year-old divorced dad, a lot of alone time, and as I get back and I kind of tie a bow on that, I come back around and I started thinking about how sad I was, because that damn Facebook memories or that damn, iPhoto memories. You were this last year. Yes, I know. I was 96 and a half pounds lighter this day last year. Actually, it was 90 today, but I lost more by the time I stopped. But anyway, 90 or so since before I stopped this time last year, right? And I was faking the smiles for my daughter and smiles for my son and going to the movies. I see all the memories. I even saw the family pictures that we tried to take. And it hit me hard. Like, wow, that hurts. But I'm a grown, relatively intelligent man. And then I paused and I said, she's not. He's not. So let's do some research. Let's share this with the world, and let's try to make life a little bit better. And when I do, good things are happening. Positive karma, I would like to think. Even the other day, my ex and my daughter knocked down, drag out argument, to the point where even my ex wrote to me and was like, I don't even know, and we get to a point where I understand why she feels the way she feels. And I'm going to explain some of those reasons why children do lash out, that I've researched, and then how I dealt with it, how you may want to be able to deal with it, how she dealt with it, and how at the end of this whole entire experience, my daughter looked to me and said, I can't wait to go see mom. And it's been roughly almost 11 months since I've actually heard that. 11, 12 months. So on one side of the fence, it makes me very happy because I want my daughter happy and whole. On the other side of the fence, it's like, well, what did I do? But then once again, this isn't about me. It's about my daughter being happy and whole, and my daughter being happy and whole and good with her mom, because at the end of the day, she's a little girl and she needs her mom. I understand that. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to sit here and, badmouth the woman that gave birth to one of the best things that's in my life, the second best thing it's in my life, And it's easy to do, right? And so I go through these steps. I want you to understand it's very easy to hate, you know, not to get overly religious, but, you know, if you believe in a heaven and a hell, hell makes it really easy. The devil makes it very easy to hate. Makes it very easy. Almost feels good sometimes. But it's not the right way. Okay? Because when you're cut and you're bleeding all over the things that you care about. Just think of it that way. All over that sofa, right? But it's not a sofa. You're bleeding all over your kids. So that inner hate, rage bleeds onto them, right? Which leads me to the first part of the things that I want to go through. And that is, excuse me, is when we talk about the children, we talk about their child brain, right? And how they deal with things later in life, right? And we want to go through and understand that as they get older, what they experience as children will affect them. It will impact them. Excuse me. Excuse me. It will impact them. It's going to affect them, right? It affected me, right? Now there's a couple of different situations where there's similarities and then there's not. Okay. So, you know, events leading to divorce generally will affect your children within the first and third years of after it's happened. Okay. Right. So divorce or loss, right? You might expect, right, that they're going to struggle, right? They're going to lash out. Like I'm telling you right now, my daughter, a lot of times lashes out. She's angry, and rightfully so, right? Her life was literally turned upside down by her mother and I. And she didn't have a say in it. No kids actually do, right? And so we have to be cognizant. And I mentioned this on Dating After 40, that you may be lonely, mom, you may be lonely, dad, but you're going to have to suck it up for a couple years. If you're going to have to put your children first. Every psychologist, you know, psychiatrist, therapist, everybody I've ever read has already said that. Within 1 to 2 years, you have to define your new normal without that significant other. You have to. This is the first Christmas where it's just my daughter and I. It's the first Christmas where it's my ex and her and my daughter and my son, right? It's the first time. And you have to make new memories while still trying to maintain a little bit of your past. So you can't throw away everything because you have to ease into it. The biggest problem that the kids run into right now is that they're being thrown into a new situation. They're being thrown into new relationships, new people, new women, new men, whoever it may be. Just boom, right into their lives. Here you go. You're going to like it because I like it. Right? And that's not true. Because you got to think, though, that 40%, a study came out in 2014 that 40%, and this isn't age related, right? But this 40% of new marriages in 2013, 2014, right? At least one of the two were married before. 40%. And 20% of those were both parents were married before. And so I won't get into a whole debate about, you know, marriage, divorce, and anything along those lines. But what I will say is that that's hard on your kids, right? You know, because now you've remarried and you remarried again, and you've made the normals, right? You've made it all try to seem normal, right? So they've actually come out and they've said, studies have shown that that kids in general have a very difficult time in the first 1 to 2 years, right? They're likely to experience distress, anger, anxiety, disbelief, right? And a lot of kids bounce back, right? Because they get used to the daily routines and they grow comfortable, with the new living arrangements, right? But others, however, they seem to kind of go back to normal in a very, very, in a quick way, right? And that's a small percentage, right? But they also may experience lifelong problems after their parents get divorced, right? So that's why when we talk about it, we talk about, making sure that if you're going to add another other individual into their life, this person better be there, right? Right? Because these kids are going to experience that distress. They're going to experience, anger. They're going to experience anxiety. They're going to experience all of these things. And they're going to experience them in different ways, right? Some, depending upon their age, are gonna feel as though, is mommy or daddy gonna stop loving me, right? And then you got some that are gonna, like your young children, they're gonna have that. Studies have shown that they have difficulty, right? They have a very, very difficult. And this is like you're super young, right? And they lash out a lot. They're going to have difficulty. They're going to worry about mommy or daddy. Are they going to stop loving me? And then you get your grade school kids, right? Is it their fault, right? That's, like you're up to like, your fifth and maybe your sixth grade-ish type, right? They feel as though, it was their fault. They misbehaved. They must have done something wrong, right? And then your teenagers, right? They are angry, right? They'll have a tendency to blame one parent or another parent, right? Whoever they feel betrayed by, whoever they feel they've lost the most respect for, right? They resent the changes. Without a doubt, they resent those changes, right? Because they've lost control of their normal life, okay? And in that rare situation, although each of them, it's very, very unique, some may feel relieved because maybe like in my situation, the abuse is over, right? Or, there are fewer arguments. And this kind of brought me around to, I was talking to my daughter and I was saying, hey, hun, that it's a tough season. And she's like, yeah, I hate this season. I was like, what? I thought you loved Christmas. I thought you loved, she's like, no, I like giving gifts, but I don't like receiving gifts. And I said, oh, it's because of the divorce. And she says, Dad, no, it's that was the period or the exclamation point on everything. But it'd been going on for many, many, many years. And I go, what do you mean? We've had really good. She's like, no, see, she goes, here's how I saw it. She goes, every year, everybody put on a happy face and the music was playing. And then as it get, and that happened all the way up until Christmas. And so that would be, 8 weeks out or even 3 months out. And then it goes to 8 weeks out. And then it goes to 6 weeks out. And then 4 weeks out into 3 weeks and so on and so forth. And you get my point until the exclamation point of, boom, blowing up on Christmas Day. And she says, that it's not a, I try to hone in on, she didn't use the word hone, but she tried to focuses on the things that she finds that are happy, right? Singing the songs, giving the gifts, right? Decorating the tree. Because all of these events in her past and her child brain did not, there were no arguments at that point. There was no trauma. There was no discord. And I sat back and I was, I cried. I literally cried because as much as I tried to, or much as I thought, especially that I had shielded that, I guarantee you my ex thought that we had shielded that tension or discord from her. She saw it. And if she saw it, I know sure as hell my son saw it, you know? And so maybe, part of it is there's fewer arguments, but I know my daughter on many different occasions, she misses her house. And it isn't, I don't even, sorry, it isn't even so much the structure she's missing the normalcy, or her version of normalcy, which is completely normal, right? And she could go to her friends that were 2 or 3 houses down. They could roam all over the neighborhood and into the park, and I call it very Leave It to Beaver-ish, or the just kind of do like I did as a kid. It was a beautiful neighborhood, loved it. And house wasn't always my favorite, to be honest with you. It was one of those situations where you buy it and you're like, yeah, sure, well, this is amazing. But parts of it absolutely loved. Would I go back to it in a heartbeat? Absolutely. Because of everything else. My daughter, my son, they got to live that first part of their life like I did. I was running all over wherever I could and getting into kind of mischief and things like that. So anyway, that's another topic. But I'll just say that however much you think, because there's two camps, right, that say, I'm divorcing, and it's for the betterment of my children, because I don't want my children to grow up and see this, right, and develop this, which is true. And then there's the other camp that says, I'm going to stay married so that my kids have this, and I'm going to stuff it down and hide it and keep on smiling through the holidays, which is another thought process. But what I've just told you is, as much as I stuffed it down, as she stuffed it down, it was still there. They saw it. They felt it. Even if we weren't arguing, they felt it. And she was like, yeah, it's about 4 or 5 years. I was like, whoa, ding, 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 nailing it, right? So I sit there and I go, okay. And then there's a third thought. Unexpectedly, I'm going to break this into 3 different parts. When I recorded this, did not intend to go as long as I had, but there was a lot of research and a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion. There's a lot of good content. So I wanted to break it into small, bite-sized pieces. I hope that you go and take a look at the other parts. Once again, this is going to be part 1 of 3. Go out, take a look. Childhood depression and anxiety during the holiday season. This is episode 10, and this is actually the 3rd part of our holiday series. So once again, this is the Renaissance Daddy.